Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe here with Star Wars: The Old Republic and some highlights from Taral V, as well as some general discussion about the game and its current status. But just to get the introductions started, as you can see, I've got my same group as from the Mandalorian Raiders video. We've got Rurikane, aka Rurikhan, and Anakin, aka Warheart, from some of my Battlefield 3 videos. But as you'll notice, Anakin in this game, his name is spelled with 2 N's, right? So it's like the incorrect spelling of Anakin. However, as of a few days ago, he was actually reported by a gamer and has had to change his name since then. And the thing I kind of want to talk about is it's one thing, okay, if you violate terms of service for whatever reason, even though, I mean, let's face reality, he's got the name spelled incorrectly here, right? And 2, Anakin is a character that doesn't even exist yet. So, it seems kind of silly to have been forced to have to change it, you know? Okay, fine, whatever, violates. You know, you can go down with that. It's the rules. You know, it might include you're not allowed to use names of any characters within the Star Wars universe, period. So, that's fine, okay? But you know what the real thing that he was angry about, and that even I was just kind of like, really? It's the fact that a gamer was responsible for reporting it. Somebody was so bored or so spiteful or unhappy with their own life that they had to actually take the time to open up the form and fill out this person's violating the terms of service or has a name with it. You know, I mean, like, who has that kind of time? Who cares that much? Why does it bother you so much? Grow up, you know, like, really? If it gets found out by a developer and they don't like it, fine, but the fact that it was just some gamer, and not only that, but the fact that that gamer had the audacity to literally whisper him and say, reported. Like, wow. That's all I can say. And it's really just another point of how sad gaming communities have become these days. But let's kind of get back to the action. And hopefully there won't be any more rants. Although there might be, so we'll see what happens. But this was actually one of the first boss fights in Taral V. Fairly simple. He's got that pet that's causing a little bit of trouble. Which apparently once the pet dies, the guy actually gets a bit more strength or something like that, but it wasn't too hard. We are a couple levels higher than this flashpoint actually required, so it wasn't too difficult of a run. Although we are obviously down a person once again. We're using a Lara Dorn for backup heals. My character is still pretty much commando combat medic spec, so I try to provide as much DPS as I can, but I will switch over to combat support cell for some heals if needed. But typically we did pretty well this run. It was a very long instance. I think it went over an hour, definitely. Just because it features a lot of that indoor, outdoor environment use. And I like flashpoints like this because there's a lot to look at. It's almost like you're in a zone instead of just an instance or a flashpoint. And, you know, boom. I love blowing people off of bridges. A lot of good action in this one. So it's really nice how you almost kind of don't, you almost want to say, oh, I want to do this dungeon, because we're all used to just saying dungeons from MMOs and RPGs, fantasy games and things like that, but it is really a flashpoint. You know, it's a location where there's something crazy going on, and it really shows here just because it's a good example of how they mix outdoor scenery like we see here, and then going a little further into this base and getting some of that indoor action later on. So really good use of terrain, indoor, outdoor environments. I have to give props to BioWare for that one. But as you can see here, we're just still fighting through this Imperial base, and again, it was a good mix of combat in terms of, you know, some difficult little points before you get to the bosses. I didn't really feel like, okay, this is gonna get tiresome. in this one, because you know, sometimes you feel like, well, you know, I don't know if this is getting a little stale once you're running through it for a while, and you kind of want to just like, okay, let's just get to the point, get to the boss fight, basically, where some MMOs kind of put all this space in between, and there's almost no reason for it. It's like they're just purposely wasting your time. In this one, I didn't really feel that way. It did feel in maybe a couple of points where it just was a little too lengthy, I guess, because it's just running, kill this, go blow this station up. But it really wasn't too bad. I definitely don't recall feeling like, ugh, you know, at any point in this instance, or flashpoint, I should say. But as you can see here, we are at another boss battle. And this robot, I think we had played this before at one point, and it was a little difficult at the levels we had, just because he would nuke you from orbit, I believe, with this one ability, and you basically had to bail, but it would drop your health pretty good. As you can see here, I'm mostly focused on the heals and in adding a touch of DPS when possible, like right around now and whatnot. So going in with that mortar volley, and basically we've got him switching targets. He takes his turns, it seems, firing at all of us, including Elara. And you can see that nuke from orbit on Rurikane there, and he's got to step out of the range from it. And then we're just throwing in some heals, throwing in some damage, just kind of in and out. We're going to get him, no doubt in my mind here, so just let him have it. I am out of ammunition, though, as you can see. Taking a little bit of damage from that nuke right there. And just trying to finish him off here. Our life is good. There we go. And what do we got? A chest piece. And I noticed a little bug there. It shows that it's blue, but it was actually an orange item. I don't know why it does that. Please fix, BioWare. Among the other things that they have to fix. But here we go. We're going to have a little bit of dialogue coming up here. So if you don't want it spoiled for yourself or whatnot, just skip it. But if not, I'm just going to shut up for a bit.
You, on my doorstep. Fortune has always favored me. You've all made quite an impression on the galaxy since our last meeting. Congratulations. Sadly, your victories end here. My fleet is about to bombard your position from orbit.
Are you insane? You'd wipe this fortress off the map just to get revenge?
My orders are to safeguard the fortress's contents at any cost. I've adopted a liberal interpretation of that command. It's been a pleasure catching up, but you won't escape this time.
SWTOR, do you read me? I monitored that transmission. My fleet is moving to intercept the bombardment. I'll do my best to keep the Grand Moff busy, but you need to hurry. Find that green computer and get out of there.
Oh, that silly Grand Moff. We'll have to teach him a lesson eventually. But running through here, we can kind of see that nice environment change once again as we go into the base. The red lighting, that red and gray color motif of the Empire is really kind of cool. I remember Anakin was commenting on how it reminded him of the inside of the Death Star and whatnot, which kind of feels a little bit similar to that. So it's kind of nice to see that. I like how they did a good job with some of the shadowing in here. I always pay attention to those little details, which is why I do kind of have a huge rant as to why some of the textures in this game could use some work. And obviously there's that big debate about how the high-res texture setting actually doesn't even work, except for in conversations. But anyway, here we go. This is basically the last boss fight of the instance. Flashpoint. Gotta say Flashpoint. And what we did there was take out that control panel to disable 2 of the turrets. And then Rui and I basically went in to finish off the last 2, while Anakin handled the main threat. So here we are, just throwing down some DPS. I am still in combat support cell, just in case we run into some extra problems. But right now we're just trying to DPS him down as much as possible. Even Alara's getting a couple shots in. And we've got some droids moving in. They're on our flank. They're shooting at Alara. We can't have that. I love that ability. That stun grenade that just blasts people away. Leaves a nice crater in the ground, too. So we're just working on getting rid of some of these ads before we finish off the main guy while he shoots randomly off into the distance there. Now, the one downside to playing with Alara a lot is that typically if I were to play a game where we have a fourth individual, which lately we just haven't had, a lot of our friends haven't caught up to us just yet, and sometimes we don't always feel that we need to bring in another live player because we've just been able to do it like this. But if you think about it, the downside would be that we would be too used to it, and that if we did have a fourth player, I might need to get used to a little bit more priority healing than I do now. But it would be interesting to see how that would work out, and hopefully I'll get some video of us actually having a fourth player around eventually, once some of our friends catch up. But beyond that too, I am kind of hoping that there is a dual spec, kind of like other MMOs, whereas I would like to be able to switch to a pure DPS spec eventually, because I do a lot of damage as it is, even combat medic, but it would be nice to just go full-blown DPS, especially for PvP. But I do manage to support pretty well in PvP as well as a healer. Getting that final blast in there as we take these ads down. I believe this is probably the last wave of droids before we take down this opponent. We roll in here. Looks like everybody's on the target. Life is looking pretty good, so now it's just time to damage. Throw it in and done. Loot it if you got it. And Rui gets himself a new chest piece there, looking like a senator. And I get myself a new assault cannon. Gotta love the mod system, being able to keep the looks of an item. I basically love that system. It's something that's been needed for a long time. They just need to bring back the color matching system, and I'll be a happy camper. Now we are coming to a close here. We do have a final dialogue before we actually leave this flashpoint, and then we'll finish it up with another little discussion. And again, if you don't want to spoil anything, skip through this part, but I will hold in here and shut up for a bit.
Republic butchers, you've invaded a sovereign imperial world, slaughtered dozens of innocents to what? Steal our research? This facility is on a mission of peace. We're charting the Maelstrom Nebula for the good of all.
Surrender the technology you're using to navigate the nebula, and you won't be harmed.
Like the other personnel you spared, I'm no fool. When the rest of the galaxy hears of this unprovoked assault, the Republic's evil will finally be exposed. Your names will become synonymous with your government's extermination campaign against us.
If we give your empire the chance, you'll wipe us out, destroy whole worlds and enslave the rest. If I can save the Republic by killing you people, so be it. I won't shed any tears.
Think you're a hero, don't you? All I see is a murderer. You're condemning hundreds of civilian science vessels exploring the Maelstrom Nebula. Electromagnetic radiation alters the safe navigation routes every moment. Without precise and timely coordinates from the Gree computer, thousands of good people, innocent scientists, will be trapped there forever.
There are no good or innocent people in the Empire. Your scientist friends work for the Emperor, just like you.
Those crews don't have supplies to last more than a few weeks. They'll starve to death. I won't let you kill them.
You should have taken no for an answer.
Now it's interesting to see some of the pauses there when we take the time to make our decisions. It's usually because we're on Ventrilo discussing amongst ourselves what we're going to pick. Although typically with Anakin, he basically chooses dark side all the time, so it's usually between Rui and I.
Come in. My fleet's taking heavy losses and the fortress defenses are crumbling. There's no more time. Take the computer to the fortress shuttle bay. You can fly out in one of their ships. We'll rendezvous in Republic space. Now go!
But anyways, guys, this once again has been SideStrafe with Star Wars The Old Republic and Taral V. I'm going to leave you with this final dialogue scene, and hope you've enjoyed it. Take care. Stay tuned for more.
Cut your escape awfully close. Grand Moff Gilran destroyed the fortress just moments after you left. We suffered heavy losses at Taral V. The Dantooine, the Sirocco, more starfighters than I care to count. But there's no time to mourn the dead. We must strike the Empire's prison before the enemy bolsters its defense.
Down on Taral V, your Jedi friend sent us warnings. We couldn't see her, but it was definitely her voice.
Extraordinary. Your team has a powerful ally. The Force is with you. My technicians have plugged the Greed computer into the Telos' hyperdrive. We're already calculating a safe route to Maelstrom Prison. When we arrive, I need my best people leading the raid. You're the Jedi prisoner's only hope of escaping alive.
If there's one thing I'm known for, it's daring rescues. That and impeccable timing. Snappy comebacks are a close third.
The spirit of youth. Hard to believe it's been 200 years since I was your age. This mission will cost more lives before it's done, but it's a necessary sacrifice. The Jedi prisoner can end this war, save countless worlds. We'll be jumping to hyperspace soon. Head for the shuttle bays. Be ready to launch on my signal. May the Force be with you.